Thurles are back into the county final after 119 to 214 win over Kiladangan here in Semple Stadium in Thurles. And Paddy Creedon will go down as the hero for Thurles. 5 points from play. Paddy Maher was brilliant at centre back, or at full back. Probably one of the best games that he's played in a long time. His hand will definitely be sore from pucking the ball throughout this game. He was fantastic, to be fair. Ronan Maher stepped up towards the end of the game. A couple of brilliant catches from puck out, scored an unbelievable long-range score. So he was absolutely excellent, which is no more than you expect from Ronan Maher at this stage. A real interesting shift of momentum in terms of score throughout the game. Kiladangan went 3 points to 0 up at the start of the game. Paul Flynn got a couple of scores from play, and Billy Seymour, who was very disappointed overall, he scored a free. But then, interestingly, Sars responded with 8 points in a row. It was just after the second water break. They got their eighth in a row. A couple of different lads stepping up, including Creedon, during that point of the game. And then David Sweeney went off injured. He'd been out for a while anyway, but he seemed to pull up with a hamstring injury. And then it was a goal for Brian Mallochny, who, of course, was the hero in the county final last year. And Kiladangan took over in the second water break. They had a run of 2-5 after the first water break, 2-5 to 2 points to lead at halftime, 2-8 to 10 points. But started the second half, then it was a case of Thurles getting back on terms. Connor Stapleton, he scored a nice goal, whipped it into the net after a long ball. And this was a big feature for Thurles throughout the game. They went long time and time again. And there's always the question of, do Thurles have the ball winners? But they certainly did have them here, because Dennis Maher was a thorn in Kiladangan's side throughout, catching high ball, just turning and running at his man. You say the same for Paddy Creedon, who's absolutely brilliant, and I'm sure he's somebody that Colin Bonner will be keeping an eye on. Definitely brilliant hurler, great target man, turns and goes at his man. And then also Pa Burke, who was playing on the inside. He was very good. Darren Stapleton, he was named number 21 coming into the game, but he started. He was very good, just kept the ball moving all the time. Connor Stapleton scored 1-2. And towards the end of the game, Dennis Maher had a goal chance, probably could have put it out of sight, maybe had more time than he realised. But Sars, when you talk about these scoring momentum swings, they had 1-3 to a point at the start of that second half. And at the second water break, it was level 2-11 to 114. And it was at that stage that Ronan Maher began to take over, that Paddy Creedon took over. Aidan McCormick had been knocking over his frees, but he finally got a point from play towards the very end, and the fist went flying up in the air. If Sars had to lose this game, it would have been completely their own fault, because over the course of the game, they missed 22 scoring chances. Now, that's not just wides, that's also shots blocked down, goals saved, goal attempts saved, whereas Kiladangan only missed 5 in the first half, and then another 9 in the second half, so 22 to 14. And in a game where you only barely just win by 22 points to 20 when you convert goals to points, that could have been hugely costly. But for Kiladangan, they missed 7 of their chances in the first 3 quarters of the game and missed 7 in the final quarter of the game. And even Paul Flynn had a handy one towards the end. You couldn't believe he knocked it wide. He scored 4 from play, so he was excellent. He'd been carrying an injury coming into the game, so he couldn't have done a whole lot more. But it was those misses, and a team that's so good in terms of getting over the line in games in the last maybe 3 years, and even through the North and through the group this year and last year, they did kind of, towards the end of the game when it was on the line, they did start hitting more wides, or as many wides as they had in the other 3 quarters of the game. But good performances from Joe Gallagher. Billy Seymour, he did get a goal, but he was very, very quiet. And Paddy Maher really won that battle quite comprehensively when he was in on him. You'd have to say that Dan O'Mara had a very disappointing game in there also. Brian Lockley scored 1-2 from play and got a point from free also. Adam Flynn, decent at centre back. James Quigley did some good stuff too. But yeah, Ronan Maher was brilliant. His brother Paddy Maher was absolutely exceptional. And all the forwards just tested out their men time and time again. So this talk of Thurles Stars not having ball winners, well, remains to be seen if that's the case for the year. But in the final against Bursley or Lockmore, but fantastic win for Thurles Sarsfields and full value for it.